Hello everyone, my name is Rochelle Innocent and I'm the founder and CEO of Project Purpose. Welcome to our channel. Our community is focused on fostering the intellectual and character development in children. We do this through our parent-child workshops that are focused on 4 themes: autonomy, self-advocacy, compassion, and self-concept, in order to cultivate grit, perseverance, and resilience in each child. At Project Purpose, our overarching mandate is to renew and rebuild a family, community, and relationships. Our different social media platforms provide us with an opportunity to have discussions and to create space on all topics that relate to family, community, and relationships with ourselves as well as with others, with a primary focus on mental health and education. More precisely, the ways that the institutions of mental health and education play a role and have played a role in our societies at large. These discussions and debates provide us with an opportunity to think critically about what needs to change within these structures for us to live up to our bold slogan: support, protect, and empower each child for youth-focused development, better known as leadership in juvenescence. We recognize that in valuing our children's leadership potential, this also translates as recreating and co-creating environments, both socially and politically, that will enable our children to thrive. Now, for those of you who are particularly keen on this topic, we invite you to join us on our website where we write thought pieces every other Sunday. And we have a thought piece scheduled to drop this upcoming Sunday, so definitely be sure to tune in. Now, if it is the case that you are looking for a listening alternative, well, we're available on 12 different podcast platforms for your listening leisure, and we've provided you with access to the link in the description down below. Now, as is the convention, be sure to subscribe, hit that post notification bell so that you are aware of every time we post. And of course, if you like these conversations and you want to keep them going, like, comment, and share this segment. Let's get into it. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another segment here on Project Purpose. For those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis. And today our topic of discussion is mental wellness. And on the topic of mental wellness, this week we're going to be doing a 2-part series focusing on doing away with things that do not serve us. So pretty much energy traps that we can fall into that take away our energy and really have a very low return on the time spent doing these specific things. And so to make this just a little bit more structured, what I'm going to do is in our first segment, we're going to be talking about different habits that really pull away at our energy, that are more about self-governance, the way that we manage the time that we spend with ourselves, and some of the things that we allow ourselves to ruminate on and think on that really just don't serve us in the long run. And then our second part will be more around social governance, so the things that we do or we allow to take place in our social settings that really don't serve us. So without further preamble, I'm just going to jump right into it, and I'm going to talk about my top 3 habits that we need to break as soon as possible, because they not only carve away at our sense of wellness, they hurt us, they're not helpful, they're not healthy, they don't make us feel good. So what's the point of continuing to engage in these kinds of behavior? So the first one that I have that comes to mind is wishing things weren't the way that they took place. So this is really about dwelling on events that took place in the past and wishing that they didn't take place the way they did. So wishing away the role that we played in the past, or the situations that we could have, maybe dealt with it differently. We could have been somewhere that we weren't, or we could have said something that we didn't. I think a lot of the times we can find ourselves stuck in this cycle where we're continuously beating ourselves up for the way that we didn't show up, for the things that we didn't end up doing, or for the situations where we wish we just did differently or did better. And I get it. I used to be someone who did this quite frequently, and I would call it training. I'm like, I'm dwelling on this, I'm thinking about this, because the more that I think about it, the more that I allow myself to feel bad about it, the more I can feel assured that if this event were to take place again or in the future, I would handle it differently. It would be the way that I would encourage myself, that I was learning, that I was not I wasn't wasting time necessarily by thinking about things that were past. I was using those lessons or those moments that still had an emotional tag associated to them to help train myself to behave in alignment with how I wanted to behave, moving forward. But sometimes we miss the moving forward part. We miss the lesson that we want to extract. And we're just kind of stuck in this cycle of beating ourselves up for the things that we didn't do or the people that we weren't at that stage in our lives. So I think that that is a huge time waster. I think that is something that we need to fix as soon as possible. And simply because we look at things with our new insight, with the insight that we've gained from having gone through that experience, from having lived through the repercussions or the consequences of those experiences. And I think that sometimes we fail to recognize the shift that took place in some of these pivotal moments that are painful at times, but that changes from who we were to who we are now. And rather than celebrate the difference, celebrate the fact that we know better now, that we'll do better now, we're beating the version of ourselves that didn't show up in the past. And I just think that that is something that completely takes away so much energy and also really hinder our relationship with ourselves. So that's one thing that I wanted to talk about. The past no longer exists. It only exists in the memories and sort of the figments of our imagination that we kind of use to play on them. And I think that when you realize that the past is no longer available outside of your memory of it, then maybe hopefully that insight will help you spend less time focused on things that we cannot change. Take the lessons and move on, essentially, is the message that I wanted to share with that. So the first one was wishing things were differently than what they were, and the second one is wishing you were different than who you are now. And I think that this is also something that we can fall into, especially if we're an anomaly, if we're not conventional in some way, shape, or form, or we're unexpected by a lot of the people that we surround ourselves by. We can easily fall into the trap of wishing we weren't the way that we actually are, wishing we didn't garnish the reactions that we garnish as of right now. Just wishing away personality traits or physical traits that really speak to our individuality in a way that maybe we're not comfortable with yet. We're still growing into developing a sense of security with those aspects of our individuality. But part of that journey involves coming to terms with being who you are, and then hopefully developing a certain level of appreciation for the ways that you are different. But there are going to be stages and phases in life where those differences really create an environment that might not be the most inviting. I think sometimes when we are very different, we can incite a lot of teasing. People can single us out. It can be difficult to stand out. But I'm here to say, if you're a game changer and you are someone that represents change, you represent a new normal, it can be very threatening to certain people. And I think that the best thing that you can do is not allow how people respond and react when they do feel threatened or when they do feel that you are a representation of a change that they're not ready for. So, that makes you the target in some inadvertent way, then you need to hold strong, right? And even if you're not quite there by way of feeling the appreciation for the ways that you're different, you're feeling comfortable with the ways that you show up differently, recognize that how you feel about it and what is are different things. And it's important in order for you to navigate sometimes very tricky terrain with confidence and with yourself in mind, that you need to do away with the feelings of wishing that things were different or that people responded differently to you or that you didn't have these specific traits or these talents or these gifts that created this polarizing effect, right, where you got a lot of positive attention in some respects, but also some negative attention as well, where you're celebrated in some respects, but then also torn down and ripped down in other cases as well. I think the great responsibility that comes with being an individual and standing in your difference and recognizing that it means people are going to have a reaction to you. You're not going to be someone that people feel neutrally about because you're an individual. People are going to, love you or, feel the opposite about you. People are going to feel really good around you or feel the opposite about you based on where they are in their own personal journeys. And I think that while you've reached that place of alignment where you can appreciate all the ways that you're different despite some of the experiences that has garnered for you, just know that you're only going to serve yourself by committing to yourself to find a way to appreciate the ways that you are struggling to sort of develop an appreciation for now. It will happen in due time, I promise you. And the last one that I wanted to talk about in today's video is worrying about things beyond our control. So I think the first two were more focused on the past, some things that are inherent to us, inherent to our individuality that we might not really appreciate. Right? This is really about the future. Sometimes we ruminate on the future as much as we ruminate on the past, wanting to step into the future and manipulate things in a way where we think it's going to serve us. And I'm here to say sometimes the best case scenario that you have envisioned or that you think is the right for you actually isn't. And I think sometimes it's important to trust that things are going to unfold the way that they're supposed to, even if that is a deviation from the way that you would like them to. And I think that has helped me reach a lot of peace about uncertainty, about ambiguity, about a future that I think is always very uncertain, very volatile, very complex and ambiguous. And I'd like to see the beauty in that, because I don't try to feed the illusion that I can control it. The future is always going to be uncertain, and then when it happens, rise to the occasion. I think that it's important to trust that no matter what happens in the future, it will give you the opportunity to rise to the occasion, to surprise yourself, and to show up in ways that maybe you haven't in the past, and just be okay with that. Find peace in that. Recognize that you don't need things to be predictable for you to show out in your life. That was all that I want to talk about in this video by way of things that don't serve us, areas where we might be throwing away our energy unnecessarily, but more so to do with self-governance. Our second video this week is going to be more so about social governance, about the things that we engage in, the behaviors that we engage in, the relationships that we engage in that don't serve us, and how we can maybe take that energy and maximize it by placing it in different areas. And before letting you go, I would be remiss if I didn't let you know that we will be going live at least twice a month, every month, for the foreseeable future on our Facebook page. Definitely be sure to tune in. Now, these events are paid events, so if you do see yourself participating in our community on an ongoing basis, then I do suggest that you take a look at one of our package plans. Yes, so we do have package plans over and above our live events that give you the opportunity to not only have unlimited access to our live events, but also have access to the webinars and workshops that we offer over and above those live events. So definitely be sure to stay tuned for that. Now, are growing. We're on the road to 1K, so follow us on all of our social media channels, and we look forward to chatting with all of you very soon. We'll talk to you later.